Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Exactly Warrior Academy. And today we have an honorable special guest with us where we're going to talk about leadership and the impact of mindset on how we lead and the performance that we can achieve within our organization. So, Leigh is a very special person and he has a lot of knowledge and expertise that he will be able to share with you today. We're going to go through some questions, and I'm just going to turn you on, Leigh. Hi, Leigh. How are you doing?
Hey, Steve, I'm really well. Thank you so much for that beautifully warm welcome. I'm extremely honored to be here. I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
One thing that I've always wanted to ask you, Leigh. I heard that you're from Essex. Is it true that people from Essex always hang on to the end of every single sentence? Like for dear life, they have to pronounce it just perfectly. Is that true? Tell me, is that true?
That's a very good question and a very good observation. I hadn't really thought too much about it until now, to be honest. So I was born and raised in East London, very close to the borders of Essex. Of course, Essex is a big county. You've got rural Essex and sort of suburban Essex. But yes, when I was 15, my mum kind of moved us, and the boundary of Essex between Essex and London was actually in our back garden. So I was an Essex boy by about 20 metres. And yes, I think you're absolutely right. They do kind of hang on to that last syllable, good morning, how are you? Lovely to see you. So yes, absolutely. And that's very distinguishable from a London accent, I'd say. So very good call out. And if you catch me doing that throughout the interview, please do call me out on it. I'd appreciate it.
Look, you're talking to an Asian, right? I couldn't tell the difference between Irish, Scottish, English. I forget about telling the difference between London and Essex. I am learning though, because I know for some people it could be a bit offensive to confuse Scottish and Irish and English. So
Yeah,
slowly getting
yeah,
pain
very
with it.
much so. You got to tread carefully there, Steve. You got to tread carefully. I suggest always just asking where people are from. Um, yes, because I've tried to guess an accent before, and it's got, I was just out of curiosity, I was just trying to guess the accent and where that person was from, and I could see that I'd offended them, so I spent the next few minutes kind of apologising profusely, and yes, I won't make that mistake again.
I think it's one of those things in life, right? Like if I ever suspect a woman being pregnant, do not guess because
Absolutely,
it has a potential to offend people.
it
So
does.
you're the executive coach from the coaching tree. Can
Yes,
you tell us a little bit about what's coaching tree about? Why did you name it what it
yeah,
is?
absolutely. So I started up the coaching tree a year ago, and I guess the name kind of represents the kind of strength and nurturing and growth that the metaphor of a tree provides. It's kind of strong. It's able to sustain the different seasons. It's ever changing. So that for me just kind of really encompassed all the things we were setting out to achieve
Yeah,
by supporting people in their own growth,
yeah,
individuals, teams, organisations, to help them kind of transform and set themselves up for success in this kind of ever changing environment.
fantastic. So you've, as I heard in coaching tree, you do a lot of leadership coaching, but just why are you interested? What is leadership to you, and why are you interested in coaching them?
Yeah, it's a great question. So leadership to me is, outside of it being a role, it's that ability to influence people and inspire them towards a goal and to be part of something that's greater than themselves. So to kind of rally people, support them along the way to collectively achieve success. And it kind of really interested me because through the years of working in kind of enterprise transformations, working a lot on organizational culture and helping teams kind of lift their capability just came to realize how pivotal the leadership role and mindset is to ensure success.
What would you say is the most satisfying aspect of that?
Yeah, I think if you kind of look at the environment we're in now, in kind of an environment where there's like an unprecedented pace of change, and the demands on leaders to reinvent themselves, I find that kind of just really kind of fulfilling to support people to just kind of grow. And looking at that environment as well, you know, gone are the days when one person can kind of hold all the information and make all the decisions because of the pace and the complexity we work with decentralizing that control to where the information is richest. Everybody becomes a leader. You know, you're trying to build a team of empowered thinkers that becomes an unstoppable force. So I find that kind of really fascinating in how that change and shift and so fulfilling to kind of help people to achieve their goals.
Yeah, just on that, I love what you said earlier about how leadership isn't just a role. And it has a big impact on people. I think, I'm not sure if how many people had the honor or the privilege of working under a really inspirational leader, and the impact that could possibly have on us, not just professionally, but also personally, the impact of great leadership can make on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we're going to just talk about the impact of that on the organization culture. And you delve a lot in depth about organizational culture and organizational anthropology, I believe. So what would you say would be that impact of leadership on culture?
Yeah, so I guess looking at organizational culture, the culture isn't owned by any one person. It's not owned by leadership, but it's certainly driven by leadership. People take their cues from leaders. So understanding as a leader the mindset you need to go into, you know, how you're going to kind of show up, how you're going to behave, how you're going to reflect the values of the company that are kind of needed to help achieve the strategy is kind of really important. Even the smallest things that you do are being observed. So in a leadership position, you know, how you choose to spend your time. If you speak to one person more than another group, that's kind of observed and interpreted by people. How you choose to promote really kind of impacts the behaviors and the culture that you're going to kind of see overall. For instance, if you promote people based on purely the numbers that they're achieving, you know, to get there, they kind of burned everybody along the way and left a kind of train wreck of I guess kind of humans behind them. That's going to set a tone of, oh, that's how I succeed in this company.
But just on what you said, you know, about people hitting numbers and basically over their bodies, right? So burning people out, chucking the bit, like if they get burned out, they go out and just hire new people.
Yeah.
In my mind, some of the leaders will be listening to that and just say, so what? Like, I'm successful, I got my bonus. What would you say to that?
It's a real kind of sense of self-awareness that's kind of needed. And if that is truly your outlook as a leader, you've got different forms of mind. So talk about the forms of mind, and you know, the self-sovereign mind, where it is kind of all about me. You know, I can't see other perspectives outside of my own. The socialized mind, where you know I'm following the rules and the I guess the group think. under the sort of self-authored mind and the self-transforming mind. The self-authored mind, where you're creating your own realities based on being able to kind of put something on a table, walk around it, see it from many different perspectives.
Yeah.
I think it's a quite dangerous place to be, to have leaders who are in that self-sovereign mind, because it's kind of short-term thinking. It's going to create a culture of fear, a culture of blame. At best, you're going to have your good people leave. At worst, you're essentially going to create a toxic culture throughout the organization that's going to be really difficult to turn around. It becomes part of your brand, as you're sort of known and perceived from the outside, part of your identity.
Yes. So I can hear that maybe some of those costs to these people is if you become known as that type of ruthless tyrant over, my success over everyone else's, you're not going to attract the best people, right?
Absolutely. And it's that kind of short-term success over mid to long-term sustainability. And that can be kind of a dangerous thing, just to look short-term at, at all costs we must achieve this from a company perspective. And from a human perspective, is it the right thing to do? Right thing to do by others to behave that way. As I say, it kind of comes from that place of self-awareness. Always starts for me with self-awareness. And the great leaders I've seen, worked with, they've kind of worked to uncover what their own purpose is, what their own values are. And then been very clear and understand of how they map that to the values of the company, and how can they live out their own values through the company, because that then creates authenticity. Or allows them to live with authenticity. And the perception of the teams around you. As I say, they then sort of follow that lead. So it allows people to live with conscious purpose and to be able to make choices in the moment, without just reacting. And then as a really effective leader, it's okay, how do I choose to respond in this moment to get the best outcome for myself, for the people I'm working with, and for the organization overall?
So you said that self-awareness is really key, because then that helps the leaders become aware of their own personal leadership style, and whether that's actually helping them in retaining the best talent, or maybe driving people away in the long term when they develop that negative reputation as burning people around them and only caring about themselves. So, well, coming back to what you said earlier about the knowledge economy, because we work in a society where your worker is probably know a lot more than the people who are supposed to be managing them or leading them. So what would you say will be the impact of that lack of self-awareness, particularly for a leader who's maybe leading in a knowledge economy, knowledge-based organization?
I guess the implications are pretty clear, right? If you don't empower the skilled workforce to fully use, I guess, all their creativity and expertise, they're going to go somewhere that does allow them to do that. You got people these days are looking for more than just a paycheck. We're no longer in the kind of industrial revolution, where it's as you say, it's just kind of work. Follow a process. It's creative knowledge work. So the impact is that you can get your good people to leave. Also, the other impact is going to be that you're not going to get the best outcomes, because you're relying on a single person or just a group of people, and the brain power of a single person is absolutely no match for the brain power of the room.
Yeah.
So how do you unlock that collective knowledge?
Yes.
And that's by decentralizing that control.
Yeah. So empowering the people will allow you to take better advantage of people you have, because
Absolutely,
you're maximizing their potential within your company.
Absolutely,
and that's really important, especially to me in a knowledge economy. But I guess if I take that further, right? So we talk about that unconscious leadership where you just kind of burning people, you're just telling people what to do, you just manipulate to get your own way, and that's going to drive people away. But is there a place for that type of leadership? As in, is there a place for dictatorship in the modern workplace?
It goes against my own personal values, Steve. So I felt a little kind of ripple of energy flood through me there. I would say there's no place for dictatorship. There's no place for those behaviors. That's because it's coming from a particular mindset. But if we kind of look at a leadership mindset from a conscious perspective, and they're choosing how they turn up, being able to be self-aware, being able to be socially aware, and being aware of the particular scenario situation that you're currently facing, then that's where situational leadership comes into play, and that's really, really powerful. So, for instance, is there a place for dictatorship? I'd say no. Is there a place for direction?
Yeah,
absolutely. Fully empowering people through a kind of a coaching leadership style isn't going to work in every situation. It's not best suited for every situation. So the conscious leaders are fully aware and able to kind of switch those hats depending on the environment they're in. For instance, an example, if you're a fire crew responding to an emergency of a building burning down, if you're the fire chief, you're not going to kind of bring your team together and be, right, guys, I'm really interested to hear your views on how best to tackle this. From your previous experience, what have you seen that's worked really well, and what's something we can do to collectively learn?
Yeah,
it's kind of burning down around you. It needs to be, you need to have that hat on, where it's, we're in crisis mode.
Yes,
we need to get ABC done to get us out of this crisis, but being mindful as well. We take that to the work environment. Say a production issue, if you're in a software environment, still absolutely relevant, but you've got to be careful you don't stay there too long. If you stay there too long in a scenario that doesn't demand it, you're disempowering your people, you're building dependency between those people and yourself, where they're no longer thinkers, they're doers. The great people are going to kind of go elsewhere. Yeah. You have some people stay who are just going to sit there waiting until you tell them precisely what to do. And that's going to slow the whole delivery of value down.
Yes.
At best. And you're going to get pretty shonky outcomes, because it's all coming from the thoughts, decisions, and brain power of one person who cannot possibly, in this highly complex environment we now work in, have all the information and be omnipresent.
Yeah. That when you say that, it kind of reminds me of business agility. It seems to have a big impact on how fast a business can react to changing circumstances if it's relying on that single person to direct every single thing. Would that be right?
Can you kind of explain the question slightly differently? You're talking about the difference between business agility and a traditional approach?
Yes. So when you say that when everyone's waiting for a single person to make that decision for anything to move, that's going to get in the way of their execution. And that's where that reminds me of the term that I heard known as business agility.
Yeah, okay.
So would you say that's an accurate implication? Like if a leader who is just constantly a bit of a director, rather
Mm.
than situationally use that,
Mm.
he's gonna get in his, or he or she will get in the way of his team doing what's required.
Absolutely, absolutely. So being able to choose the hat you need to in the right scenario, and certainly if you're looking at business agility, your role as a leader then is to create the environment where your team can flourish, where they feel safe, they have clarity of the meaning and the purpose, what's expected of them, and what they can expect from you in return.
Mm-hmm.
And those decision boundaries or those empowerment boundaries are kind of clearly defined. Yeah. So, you know, this is where I will need to make a call because, you know, there's a particular kind of threat or the stakes are so high. Here is where we can kind of have a democracy and agree. Here's your sandpit. Just go, I don't need to know anything about that. You guys are the experts. Kind of, here's the outcome we need to get to. I can be very clear about that. Don't let me get in your way. And I think that's kind of key in the, as you say, the knowledge economy. To get in that right and hit that sweet spot. And it's a tough thing. Intent-based leadership is a really useful model. Beautiful book by a guy called David Marquet, Turn the Ship Around.
Yep.
Really wonderful. There's 6 principles. And it's kind of talking about, you know, you're moving from compliance to empowerment. From the traditional model of leader to follower,
yep,
leader to leader. Setting up that environment and using intent. You know, what is the intent? What is the outcome we're trying to achieve? Mm-hmm. Make me feel confident that the decision you're going to make is going to get us there. You know, kind of based on 2 pillars. Is it safe? And is it the right thing to do?
Right.
To get a better outcome. I'd say a wonderful story there of a leader I worked with not too long ago, actually. She was absolutely fantastic at that. You know, a lot of it kind of came naturally, and we had a lot of kind of coaching discussions. Mm-hmm. But she was very, very good at setting the purpose, setting the meaning, providing that clarity. Mm-hmm. And what we worked on together was helping her and her team define what those boundaries are. Mm-hmm. And she was finding previously where the team were kind of waiting for her to make a decision. Mm-hmm. Things were getting bottlenecked, and she was going to go on leave in a couple of weeks, and she was really kind of stressed that, you know, what's going to happen when I'm not there anymore. Yeah. Within a few weeks of kind of having these sessions with the team, defining those boundaries, determining then a bit of a plan to help kind of lift capability. Within a few weeks, it was remarkable to see the increase in performance, the increase in motivation, the increase in engagement. It really started humming. It was really powerful.
That's fantastic. Just for the leaders who are just becoming more aware of how their leadership style has a big impact on their team's performance, what would you recommend for them to do as a first step so that they can become more conscious of their leadership style and the mindset that they're kind of using? Where do they begin?
That's an absolutely great question. So for me, great leaders, it's all about authenticity, you know, ability to create that human connection first and foremost. You know, if you can't create that human connection, and as humans, we're fantastic at, I guess, sticking bullshit, for want of a better word. You might tell me all these wonderful things and try and inspire me, but if I don't feel that you're believing it, you're connected to it, and you can connect in a way that makes sense to me and talks to my own personal meaning-making system and mental models, then you're not going to get me along for the ride. So authenticity is kind of, you know, key, but that all starts with self-awareness. Okay, I keep raising this, like, self-awareness. Mm-hmm. All starts with self-awareness. So, as I say, knowing yourself, knowing your own purpose, knowing your values, being able to kind of read the team, the non-verbal cues, what's not being said.
Yeah.
In this particular moment, what is the best kind of leadership hat for me to wear? All these sorts of things, that self-awareness allows the authenticity to shine through.
Yeah.
the social awareness allows you to be flexible and adaptive in the moment.
Yeah.
And there's that beautiful Viktor Frankl quote which talks about between stimulus and response, there's the space, and that space is our power to choose. Yeah. And in that choice is our freedom, I believe. And so that self-awareness allows you to create that space. So without just responding, and going back to your standard style and not knowing why you respond a particular way or react a particular way, it's choosing. That conscious choice is the key. Mm-hmm. So through the self-awareness, okay, I can actually consciously choose what decision I need to make, how best to get that outcome for myself, my team, the business, and the customer in any given situation.
Yeah. Fantastic. So in terms of getting started, you mentioned self-awareness quite a few times. Can you explain to the audience what is self-awareness?
I would describe it as living consciously. Mm-hmm. So, how many people actually just kind of drift through life reacting to stimulus? Mm-hmm. That awareness is that ability to kind of tune in to not just, I guess, what you're thinking, but the other intelligent centers in your body, where you feel it, what you're feeling, and kind of using all those intelligent centers to respond to the trigger in a conscious way. So it's all about that kind of consciousness, building up that consciousness to be present, and then choosing how you're going to respond.
Yeah. So living more consciously, and as we've seen in today's conversation, it has a big impact on not just leadership, but how your business perform and your future success. So coming back to what you do in the coaching tree. So can you share a little bit about why did you start the coaching tree, and who do you think are the people that you're looking to support and help?
As I say, I kind of started it from that desire to help individuals, teams, companies be their best selves. And I don't say that kind of loosely. That's something I kind of truly believe in, and I feel kind of honored to be a companion on that journey. I get a real sense of kind of fulfillment from watching others flourish. And I think I started off maybe 5 years ago as an agile coach, 6 years ago as an agile coach, which is helping teams, companies kind of transform using kind of the agile mindset, values, principles, tools, techniques, practices. But I kind of found that it was a little bit toothless, because a lot of the experiences I had, it was just rolling out the mechanics, but there was no connection to the people. How do you actually help them fundamentally change the mental models that they kind of have in place that are going to be the biggest barriers to change?
Right. Okay.
So change, people resist, and from my experience, they resist change, resist being changed. You can support them to change themselves and help see things differently and be on that journey with them, to support them to continuously reinvent themselves, to be the best version of themselves, to get the best from their potential. Yeah.
So coaching tree is going to help leaders exploit their full potential.
Absolutely.
And act in the best version of themselves in what they do.
Absolutely. So ultimately the outcome is better results for your company, better results for your customer. Yeah. And we work, as I say, with individuals, teams, and organizations to help them become the best selves from an organizational perspective, to fully transform across strategy, structure, people, process, information, the whole kind of operating model. But with a human-centric approach, not just the mechanics behind it. Very much a focus on the culture, the mindset, and the behavioral shift that needs to happen to make this not only work when you're there, but when you step back, that stickiness remains and sustained success.
Yeah, that sounds really fantastic. It
Mm,
is something that's definitely going to be very, very valuable to any organization who are looking to be more successful. I mean, you really want to have more leaders who are all acting the best versions of themselves to be able to build a
absolutely.
successful organization. So, for those of people who are interested in finding out more about the coaching tree, where would you say they can go?
I think thanks for the plug. Here we go. Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Steve. So of course, you can look us up on LinkedIn under the coaching tree. You can search for me individually, Leigh Jenkinson, Leigh, Jenkinson, Jenkinson, or also visit our website, which is www.thecoachingtree.com.au. And please just feel free to reach out. Nothing I love more than kind of connecting with new people and understand a little bit about their challenges and how we might be able to support. No obligation chat, but if there's a way we can work together and help you achieve your greatest aspirations and your objectives and goals, that's what we're all about, and there's nothing we love more.
Fantastic. All right, we'll put the contact details below in the description section, so you'll be able to find a direct link down there. Just want to wrap up with a big thank you for Leigh for dropping in and share with us some of your wisdom, some of your knowledge about leadership. The topic that you speak of, I think, is something that's really vital for today's world when there's change happening, all the time with ever rapid pace, ever increasing pace. And COVID, just a great example. Just think how unpredictable things can be. It can just throw things into chaos, and we need great leaders. We don't need great people with the role of leadership. We need great leaders to help support all of us through this turbulent time. So thank you, Leigh. I appreciate you joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Take care. Steve.
Do you want to learn more about how to program your mindset to be more successful in everything that you do? If your answer is an emphatic yes, you want to sign up now and get notified on my upcoming Mindset Transformation course, the 14 Days Personal Performance Jailbreak. This program is a step-by-step transformational course to help aspirational leaders jailbreak their personal performance by eliminating every single mental challenge holding them back. You can do this course online in your own time, but it still provides you with a community of support and accountability. So if this sounds interesting and you're an achiever who want to make a difference for yourself and your family, sign up now to get notified of the course pre-launch.